Let's talk AI and coaching. And AI is everywhere, and for good reason. It's extremely valuable, and you can use it for many things in your personal life, in your coaching career, and who knows what else, right? There's really no limits to using the robots. But what I want to highlight is a recent conversation I had this past weekend. I was visiting in Las Vegas with a few NBA strength and conditioning coaches at an NBA strength coach event. And one of the coaches pulls me aside and says, man, I want to tell you about this experience we had with a younger coach through an interview process, because I think it's valuable for you to share it with your audience. This person knows that I do a ton of this stuff. And so while it's fresh in my mind, I want to share it. Centers around AI, centers around the use of the robots. And now, full transparency, I'm using AI for many things. For example, I just got done confirming some flight itineraries for a vacation that I'm going on next month. And so that was very helpful, because I got 4 or 5 different flights. I got my ticket, my fiance's ticket. We got different airlines. There's a ton going on in there. So it's helpful just to cross-reference those things, right? So I don't want you to leave this video thinking, well, Ramsey said AI is not valuable. Of course not. I would never suggest that. The robots are helpful, all right? At least until they're not. But for now, iRobot is here and it's helping us. But I think where it becomes potentially harmful or has some consequence in the coaching space is when we begin to outsource our knowledge to the robots, to AI. And here's the tangible example. The coach that pulls me aside is talking to me about this interview that they recently had. And part of the interview process was a project centered around forced time curves. And the potential candidates had to label a forced time curve and then speak to what that forced time curve was actually saying about that athlete. And I would assume probably some programming implications or rehab implications downstream from that curve. We didn't dive into what was supposed to come from that, because what was more important was how the potential candidate handled this. Seemingly a younger coach outsourced this forced time curve to AI and likely prompted it to say, hey, label these sections or phases and then tell me what it means. Well, the problem was that they didn't understand it enough to actually push back on AI. And when the AI decided to label these things incorrectly, they didn't catch that. And so fast forwarding, they submit this, they're in an interview, and they're actually presenting this forced time curve. Imagine up on a screen, labeled incorrectly. That would probably be the first red flag. Potentially the second one, and potentially maybe the more telling one, was the coach then goes to speak about what this curve is saying with the wrong labels and the wrong implications from those labels with confidence. And so everybody in the room, this is what the coach is telling me about this interaction. Everybody in the room is kind of looking up and saying like, hey, this is not correct. But this potential candidate is sitting here and speaking to it with extreme confidence. And so it's got my mind thinking about how when we outsource what we do as coaching, when we outsource our thinking and effectively outsource our knowledge to AI, we don't gain the benefit from that knowledge. And then when we have to actually present and speak on these things, it becomes really hard to do so at a high level. And when I think through this stuff, obviously the majority of my coaching career, I haven't had access to AI. So there wasn't really the shortcut to learning that maybe there feels like there is now. So, if we keep it around the idea of force plate, I present on force plates a ton. You guys know that. But I'm able to stand in a room with whoever and speak confidently about what might be on a forced time curve, what the metrics might be telling us, the implications from a programming and rehab and readiness and recovery and injury perspective. All of those, I can stand there with confidence because I haven't outsourced that to AI. Instead, I've been using them for a decade, and I understand the nuances, and I've got the reps in, and I put the time in. And the deeper learning that has occurred really took time, it really took reps. And now we can fast track that with AI. And so we can seemingly shortcut this stuff. And while we may be able to shortcut on projects, I don't think we're able to shortcut on the real learning, the real knowledge. And I think the downstream effects of that is you can't stand in front of a room and really speak with confidence and charisma, because while you were able to put it together quickly with the shortcuts of AI, you really don't have the understanding of that. So anyways, I'm ranting a little bit. Don't take this as AI is not valuable. Take this as don't outsource your knowledge, because what comes from that is a lack of confidence, clarity, humility, charisma, all the things that I think we earn through reps and deep learning. Hope that helps.